It found it buried beneath the ruins of a forgotten temple, an artifact so strange, so impossibly precise, that it defied every established timeline of human civilization. Carved onto a single obsidian slab was a star chart, but not just any star chart. It mapped constellations not visible from Earth. Some of the stars etched onto its surface were only discovered with modern telescopes. Others didn't exist at all in our records, not yet at least. And the most unsettling part? The chart wasn't incomplete. It was predictive. In 1908, British archaeologist Dr. Nathaniel Greaves led an excavation deep in the mountains of Anatolia. What they unearthed wasn't supposed to be there. An underground vault sealed with a locking mechanism made of interlocking stone gears. It took 3 months to decipher the mechanical riddle. When they finally breached it, they discovered the obsidian slab, surrounded by skeletal remains arranged in a circle, heads facing inward, mouths agape. Greaves never published his findings. In fact, most of his team disappeared within a year. Those who remained changed their names and vanished from public life. The vault was quietly sealed again under the oversight of what would later become a little-known branch of the British intelligence apparatus, Section 5. The closer you get to the truth, the more dangerous it becomes. The star chart was a perfect circle, 28 inches in diameter, bordered by inscriptions in a language that has yet to be deciphered. The constellations were embedded with inlays of an unknown metallic compound, slightly luminescent and warm to the touch. At the center, a symbol identical to the flower of life, but distorted, almost as if twisted by non-Euclidean geometry. When subjected to spectral analysis decades later, during a brief window when the slab fell into private hands, it revealed signatures of radiation not native to Earth. More disturbingly, the map seemed to respond to magnetic fields, subtly shifting the placement of certain stars. Was it just clever craftsmanship, or was it reacting? In 1973, a linguist named Elias Verhoeven published a book titled Echoes of the Void, detailing symbols he had seen while studying esoteric manuscripts from ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt. To his astonishment, many of these symbols matched those found on the Obsidian star chart. Verhoeven proposed that the symbols were not a language in the traditional sense, but a mathematical interface, a way to calculate concepts using space-time as a medium. He was laughed out of academia. His book was withdrawn from circulation 2 years later and added to several restricted archives worldwide. Some believe he cracked part of the code. Before his mysterious death in 1981, he left behind a single page of notes. They were not mapping stars, they were mapping arrival points. In 1996, a team of astronomers at the University of Kyoto, while researching an unrelated phenomenon, accidentally recreated the pattern on the slab using deep space radar readings. The stars didn't align with anything visible, but when the coordinates were reversed and transposed along a fifth-dimensional axis, a purely theoretical construct, the pattern matched disturbances picked up by SETI's high-frequency sensors over the past 30 years. The data was quietly handed over to Japan's Aerospace Exploration Agency, then silence. In the archives of the Rosicrucians there are references to a black disk of knowledge which contains the memories of the Watchers. Theosophical texts describe an astral codex handed down by the seraphim of the Outer Belt. Even the Dogon tribe of Mali, long known for their inexplicable knowledge of the Sirius star system, speak of a celestial diagram given to their ancestors by nomo-amphibious beings who came from the sky. Across cultures, across millennia, fragments of this forbidden star chart appear under different names. Could this be the same object, passed from hand to hand, civilization to civilization, always veiled in secrecy? If myths persist across cultures, they are either universal truths or universal warnings. The chart also included glyphs, indicating cycles of celestial alignment. Strangely, these alignments didn't match any known astrological system, ancient or modern, until 2022, when 3 amateur researchers from Argentina noticed a peculiar pattern. The glyphs corresponded to solar anomalies recorded at irregular intervals over the last 2,000 years. But it gets worse. The next predicted event, according to the chart sequence, is set for the winter solstice of 2027. And this time, the glyph doesn't just depict alignment, it shows convergence. The future isn't waiting for us. It's already written. We're just catching up. In a lab test conducted in 2009 by a private foundation in Zurich, the slab was subjected to increasing levels of resonance magnetism. At a critical threshold, precisely 432 Hz, it began to vibrate. It emitted a low-frequency hum that caused instruments to fail and observers to experience vivid hallucinations. Several described the sensation of being watched from behind a veil. One technician claimed he saw a spiral staircase stretching into the stars. He resigned the next day, refusing to speak publicly ever again. The slab was immediately confiscated by unknown agents in black suits and disappeared from public record. Among the hidden documents leaked during the 2013 cyber breach of the Vatican's digital archives was a short memo titled Ars Caelestis, Heavenly Craft. It included references to an unholy map sealed beneath the Basilica of St. Clement in Rome. One chilling excerpt reads, "The slab speaks, but not in words. It calls through the bloodline of watchers. The stars it names are not fixed, they move, and when they arrive, we must not be near." What did they mean by arrive? And how could a map from thousands of years ago refer to celestial objects in motion, objects that shouldn't even be known to ancient civilizations? Unless, they were told, we are not alone, we have never been alone. The question is, who told them, and what did they want in return? The deeper scholars dug into the origins of the Forbidden Star chart, the more it unraveled the very fabric of history. The object itself was more than a map. It was a message, but from who or what remained an open question. There was a growing sense that something ancient, something not of this earth, had been trying to communicate. But if that were true, why encode their message in an obsidian slab hidden for millennia? In 2017, a controversial physicist named Dr. Rahman Idris of the University of Islamabad published a short paper before abruptly retracting it under pressure. It had analyzed the star chart's coordinate grid using principles of quantum topology. Idris discovered that several of the points on the chart aligned not with visible stars, but with gravitational anomalies, dark regions of space believed to contain primordial black holes. Some of these anomalies, he claimed, were slowly moving toward Earth. One was already in the solar system. Patent, dormant, waiting. The implications were staggering. These weren't just star positions, they were vectors. Following a decrypted Soviet document dating back to 1952, an independent expedition reached a remote part of Lake Baikal, Russia's deepest and most mysterious body of water. Divers discovered a submerged stone chamber beneath the frozen lake bed, sealed with a circular gate almost identical in dimensions to the original Anatolian vault. What they found inside was even more disturbing, an exact replica of the obsidian slab, but this one was active. It emitted soft pulses of infrared light in 13-second intervals. The pulses were not random, they corresponded to prime numbers followed by geometric sequences. Someone, or something, was broadcasted. Within 2 weeks, the expedition leader, Pavel Sidorov, was found dead in his cabin, eyes burnt out and hands clutching a rolled scroll of parchment inked with glyphs identical to those on the slab. The rest of the team vanished without a trace. In the archives of the Tula Temple in India, a series of stone tablets reference a flying chariot called the Arca, said to descend from the constellation Lyra. Its pilot, a divine being with eyes like burning stone and skin smooth as obsidian. What startled researchers wasn't just the similarity to the slab's material. It was that the myth describes the chariot leaving behind a celestial chart to guide future return. Is it coincidence that one of the unexplainable constellations on the slab matches Lyra, shifted back 12,000 years in its stellar position? If the Vimana myths weren't metaphorical but historical, then what else have we misinterpreted as legend? Between 1983 and 2001, 17 unrelated individuals across the globe were institutionalized after experiencing vivid dreams involving identical sequences. Circular maps of stars, tunnels of black glass, and humanoid beings surrounded by rings of light. When neurologist Dr. Meredith Chu studied EEG recordings of these patients, she noticed something chilling. Their brainwave patterns during the dreams matched the electromagnetic emissions recorded from the Obsidian star chart during the Zurich experiment. These people had never seen the slab. How could they dream of something they'd never encountered? Unless the chart was more than just an object, unless it was broadcasting into minds. In Göbekli Tepe, the world's oldest known megalithic site, researchers found pillar engravings bearing symbols identical to the glyphs on the star chart, especially a repeating cluster of 3 concentric circles intersected by a triangular ray. This same symbol appears in Sumerian ziggurat murals, Hopi cave art in North America, and even Norse carvings in Scandinavia. How could the same unknown glyph appear across continents, across millennia? The uncomfortable answer: these civilizations were not isolated, they were taught. In 1934, a Romanian mystic named Alexandru Mavros claimed to have translated a portion of the slab's glyphs using a forgotten language he called Etheric Lemurian. His translation suggested the slab was a map of awakening, a guide not just to physical locations but to stages of human consciousness. He vanished shortly after publishing his notes. Oddly enough, in 1978, a man matching Mavros's appearance, down to facial features and fingerprints, was arrested in Turkey for trespassing at a restricted excavation site near Mount Ararat. He spoke fluent English and Romanian, but with a dialect no linguist could place. He refused to answer questions except to repeat one phrase over and over. The watchers return when the convergence is complete. DNA tests later revealed no human match. The man disappeared from custody 2 days later, surveillance footage simply cut out. That same convergence marked ominously on the slab has started to draw attention from underground circles and fringe physicists alike. It's said that as 2027 nears, anomalies are increasing. Missing time events, gravitational shifts in satellites, and brief electromagnetic pulses with no source. One theory suggests that during convergence, the veil between dimensions thins, and if the chart is accurate, something plans to cross through. Whether it's a civilization, a consciousness, or a technology so advanced it mimics the divine, we don't know. But we may not have a choice. The only consistent message decoded from the chart so far is chilling. We taught you the stars, so you would know when we return. In the remote Atacama Desert, a Chilean research team made an accidental discovery while scanning for ancient geoglyphs. Beneath a layer of hardened basalt, they uncovered an enormous carving. A 400-foot serpent coiled around a circular diagram unmistakably identical to the star chart discovered in Anatolia and Lake Baikal. This wasn't an isolated artistic expression. This was a global signal. And someone or something had wanted it etched in stone, visible from the heavens. The serpent spiral was more than symbolic. It was mathematically precise. The coil's ratio matched the Fibonacci sequence, and when digitally flattened, it aligned perfectly with the path of the Voyager 1 probe. Why would an ancient civilization encode a trajectory launched only in 1977? Unless the trajectory wasn't human. Unless it was mirrored by something coming this way. In 2024, a classified satellite imaging operation detected unusual heat emissions beneath the Arctic ice shelf. What they found stunned the few who were cleared to see it. A subterranean vault nearly a mile beneath Greenland's surface, dating back over 12,000 years. Inside were 3 objects, each a smaller, refined version of the original Obsidian slab. But these were not charts. They were keys. Triangular devices laced with fine gold filaments, still humming faintly with electrical charge. And embedded in each was a microstructure, an atomically precise imprint of the same star chart, layered with additional glyphs that have never been seen before. In a forgotten corner of Eastern Europe, within the Carpathian Mountains, archaeologists uncovered a hidden monastery frozen in time. The monks, long dead, had left behind a chilling manuscript titled Codex Lux Adveni, the Light of the Arriving Ones. The text details nightly rituals performed for centuries to maintain the gateway, through harmonic chants, mathematical invocations, and blood offerings. One phrase appears again and again in the Codex: "Do not look into the sky on the 13th night. If the gate opens, turn your face to the earth." The star chart's glyphs, now partially translated by AI linguists, match phrases from the Codex nearly verbatim. It suggests a terrifying possibility. Some humans knew, for thousands of years, that something would return, and they've been preparing for it. Since 2022, global observatories have recorded a subtle increase in Schumann resonances, Earth's natural electromagnetic pulse. Some attributed it to solar activity, but an independent study by CERN revealed a pattern buried in the fluctuations, bursts of energy spaced precisely 260 days apart. That number is no coincidence. It matches the sacred Tzolk'in calendar of the ancient Maya, a calendar used not to track time but influence. According to Mayan inscriptions, the Tzolk'in is the calendar of those who taught the sky. What are the odds that Earth's resonant energy aligns with a calendar supposedly given to humanity by sky gods? Declassified only through a leaked memo, Project Kairos was a covert joint initiative between NASA, the Vatican Observatory, and the European Space Agency. Its goal to monitor a signal emanating from the edge of the Kuiper Belt, first detected in 1999, repeating every 73 hours. The waveform of the signal mirrors that of the Obsidian slab's resonance pulse. But in 2025 the signal changed. It stopped repeating. Instead, it began counting down. Deep within the archives of the British Museum, hidden under layers of miscatalogued inventory, is a cube of unknown origin, composed of tungsten alloy with carbon nanostructures only possible through advanced nanotechnology. The cube is estimated to be at least 14,000 years old. On each side is etched a quadrant of the Forbidden Star chart, an ancient data cube possibly containing the full blueprint of the original slab. When powered with a strong electromagnetic field, the cube emits holographic projections of constellations, some real, some speculative, and some located outside our observer. What mind conceived such an object, and how did it come to rest under London? More importantly, what happens when all pieces are gathered? Stranger still is the growing list of individuals who, after extended exposure to the slab or its replicas, begin to exhibit shared phenomena: heightened intuition, an aversion to electronics, the ability to speak languages they never learned. They report dreams, impossible dreams, of enormous machines orbiting dying suns, and beings of light trapped in cycles of waiting. The most unnerving similarity? They all sketch the same image: a spiral staircase reaching into a void of stars. It appears that the slab does not just inform, it transforms. The map is not to guide us outward, but inward, to what was hidden inside humanity all along. As the final pieces of the star chart were digitally overlaid and aligned, something happened. Across multiple labs, Zurich, Kyoto, Istanbul, and Greenland devices synced to the artifact began emitting the same low frequency, 17.23 Hz. Initially dismissed as interference, it quickly became apparent that this wasn't a glitch. It was an activation, and across the world, those who had come into contact with the chart or its encoded symbols began to report identical dreams, a dark corridor lit by orbs of light, a voice that speaks without sound, and at the end a mirror that does not reflect the viewer but another being entirely. In the dry highlands of Tibet beneath the sacred Mount Kailash, an ancient manuscript called the Junpo Codex was decoded by a scholar named Dorji Tenzin. The codex detailed a black library hidden within the mountain, constructed not by monks but by those who descend when the wheel completes its revolution. With precise coordinates, a small team of monks and scientists found a vast stone vault, completely smooth, as if melted into shape. Inside was a rotating celestial dome, which, when aligned to the glyphs from the Anatolian slab, projected a message in harmonic resonance. The gate was sealed until man could name the stars we come from. Suddenly, the countdown signal from the Kuiper belt ceased. The 73-hour pulse went dark. But a new signal began, not from space, from Earth. In a breakthrough that shocked the scientific community, geneticist Dr. Amare Delgado at the Max Planck Institute discovered a recurring sequence in junk DNA that, when converted using base 4 alphanumeric substitution, matched 11 glyphs from the star chart. This meant that part of the chart was embedded in the human genome. Literally. The implications shattered every evolutionary model. Humanity's very DNA had been seeded with this information. But who or what implanted it? Delgado's final message before disappearing read, "We are not Earth's children, we are its receivers." The decoded segments from the chart, the Tibetan dome, and the DNA mapping all converged on a single concept. The architects. Not gods, not aliens in the traditional sense. Entities who existed between states. Consciousness embedded in geometry, intelligence spread across time rather than space. Their purpose? To accelerate the evolution of sentient life until it became capable of unlocking the conscious frequency needed for contact. Contact, they warned, was not communication. It was transformation. A Black Ops drilling project in East Antarctica, known only as Station 9, discovered a cavernous anomaly, an echo chamber made of a material not found anywhere on Earth. Tests revealed that the chamber responded only to human presence when certain harmonic frequencies were chanted, tones that matched the awakening code, embedded in the final quadrant of the star chart. Inside the chamber, a floating tetrahedron suspended in mid-air, rotating slowly. When approached, it projected a sequence of starlight patterns across the chamber walls, none visible in the current night sky, but perfectly matching galactic formations 12,960 years ago. Exactly 1/2 of Earth's precessional cycle. Represented a cycle said by the ancient Egyptians, Mayans, and Hindus to represent the return of the gods. For decades, researchers assumed the chart was a signal meant for us. But the latest AI analysis flipped the assumption. What if the chart was not meant to receive a signal but to send one back? And call a beacon of readiness. When the pieces were gathered, when humanity finally deciphered the code, it would trigger a response, not from the stars, but from another dimension. The chart was a lock, and we were the key. And when the last frequency was activated, the Earth trembled not from tectonic movement, but from resonance. A thin veil shimmered briefly in the atmosphere, seen only on infrared satellites, a hexagonal lattice surrounding the planet, something ancient awakening. On May 26th, at 3:33 GMT, every deep space array on Earth picked up an anomaly. A point of darkness, perfectly spherical, precisely stationary, appeared near L2, the gravitational null point behind the moon. Not a ship, not a planet. A void, absorbing light, ignoring gravity. Inside it, spectral echoes of our own broadcasts returned. Radio signals from the 1960s, fragments of TV shows, our own songs played back at impossible pitch. And one other thing, a voice. It simply said, "We remember you."